Jackson, I'd like to show you paragraph 57 of BCB's statement. It will come up on the screen. And perhaps you can start with 56. You'll see that BCB here is talking about the meeting that you spoke about yesterday too. And she says she felt uncomfortable. She could not bring herself to tell the elders everything that had happened. She felt like she was still Bill's victim, and she was so scared of saying anything that would get her or Bill into trouble. And then in 57, she says, I remember that at one point in the meeting, Max said to me, is there anything else you wish to tell us? I remember looking across the room at Bill and saying, no. It was already very hard to talk about sex in a room full of men. It was especially hard to talk about what Bill had done to me while he was sitting there in front of me. I didn't feel like it was a safe environment, and I was scared of what the consequences would be if I told the whole truth. Perhaps if a sister who I was comfortable with had been there too, it might have been easier. Mr. Jackson, I take it you accept that it was very hard for BCB to talk about sex in a room full of men.
I do, yes.
And it was hard for her to talk in front of Bill, Bill Neal, that is, who was her abuser.
Yes, I'd say that, as she said, it would have been very hard.
And that it did not feel like a safe environment for her.
Yes, I don't know why she would have felt that, because we tried to comfort her. I just can't remember the scriptures that we used and the way that we spoke, but I would say that we tried to comfort her and to help her.
But you appreciate how, whatever you might have said, it couldn't have been enough in those circumstances.
I'd say that's correct, yes.
In circumstances where she has to face a number of men who are her elders in the church,
yes,
so, including one of whom is the person whom she accuses of having abused her.
Yes, yes.
And she has to face him.
Yes, yes.
And then she says, as you saw, that perhaps if a sister who she was comfortable with had been there, it might have been easier. And you suggested yesterday there might be space for that. And we started a discussion about that. And I'd like to take you back to what I showed you just before we finished yesterday, which is in, it's at tab 120, page 90, or ringtail 91 of that document, paragraph 3. So now this document, you'll recall, is the shepherd the flock of God. And of course it's the position now, not back then, but I'm content to discuss what the position is now. And as I showed you yesterday, you see it says that in a judicial hearing procedure, observers should not be present for moral support. And you answered yesterday that you thought that if the accused, not the accuser, but the accused wanted moral support, there may be space for that. But you'll accept that under this, there's no space for the accuser to have someone present for moral support.
In that particular paragraph, it demonstrates that or mentions that. But I think in the publication around chapter 12, it does talk about that we need to take into consideration the person, and that we would, really try to help them, and if need be now, certainly have someone there to help. I think it was paragraph 18 and 19, I think.
So that's at ringtail 132. See, this is dealing specifically with child abuse, and there the paragraphs 18 and 19 are.
Yes, it must have been another one, but I know that if need be, then we certainly can have, they can have, the one that is being abused, they can have someone there, whether a friend, parents, ones of their choice, to make them feel comfortable.
Well, it's not in those paragraphs 18 and 19, you accept that? You accept that?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, I thought it was there, but it's...
And it would be against the paragraph 3 we were looking at earlier, insofar as the
Yes.
judicial hearing is concerned, not so.
Yes, yes, sorry.
These guidelines are published by Bethel in Brooklyn.
Yes,
That's right.
yes,
So where it says in paragraph 18 on the screen now, in the last sentence, the branch office will then give direction based on the circumstances involved in each situation. Would it
yes,
be your understanding that that's direction within what these rules allow?
yes, and
In other words, the branch office wouldn't have authority to override these rules, which are published and distributed from New York.
no, but they could include saying that we should give the support, as much support to the victim as possible.
Yes. Now, what about if it's if the complainant is a child still at the time that she's complaining, that she raises the allegation? How do you deal with that?
In the case 10, just trying to think of the chapter, whether it's... but there's, again, just the support if it's a child, and the parents would be permitted to come there, unless, of course, one is an accuser. It's a little bit different. But again, we try to give them as much support as we can to help them.
Well, Mr. Jackson, you and other overseers and elders have given evidence or have in their statements that you receive training from time to time. Is that right? And does that training ever cover how you should deal with children who are making complaints of child sexual abuse?
I cannot remember exactly when, but I'd say yes, that it does deal with that, and appreciating that every situation is different, the way that it would be handled.
Well, what training specifically on, for example, how to interview a child complainant?
We, of course, try to be as kind and considerate, thinking of Bible principles involved, how we can be a support to these ones. Again, looking to the publications as well.
You accept that it's a specialist area of how to respond to children making allegations of abuse?
Yes, we do, and we certainly appreciate that. And even after, we don't discourage if the parents or the individual wants to seek other help through individuals or through, depending on the circumstances, qualified people.
So,
Psychiatrists or counsellors.
and insofar as the interviewing itself is concerned, you wouldn't, though, be able to give up your role as an elder in conducting an interview to a professional outside of the church, would you?
Do you mean being involved in the meeting?
Yes, interviewing the child.
No, that's true. We don't, no. But we try to give them as much as support as we can, as we said, as I've said, either through an individual who they feel comfortable with, But when the situation is dealt with, we certainly, you know, don't encourage them, but we say to them if they want to, they can, you know, go to counsellors, psychiatric help, or within the congregation there may be someone that can give them definite help.
We can look at tab 126, starting on the first page. So if you can make it bigger. So you'll see that this is from World Headquarters in August 2013, and it's to branch committees, and it's guidelines for branch office service desks. In other words, how branch officers should respond. And then attached to the letter is some guidelines for branch office service desks. Is this a document you've seen before? It wouldn't typically go to you because you've not served in a branch office, have you?
No.
In any event, let me take you, you'll see there the guidelines are, but in particular to page 9. Ringtail 84, question 14. When should elders interview a young child who is a victim of child abuse? That's the question put, as it were, to the service desk. And as I read the document, this is what the direction to the service desk is. When elders call the branch office regarding a child abuse matter, they may ask about the need to interview the victim. In such cases, help the elders to balance the need to investigate the dangers of inadvertently further traumatizing a young child abuse victim. For example, has the accused already confessed to the wrongdoing? Is there more than one accuser, and thereby already sufficient evidence to handle the matter judicially? In such cases, there is likely no need to interview the young child. Still nothing there about being able to get a trained professional to do the interview or to assist.
No, that's why I said generally it's after that we encourage them if need be. But if they do want support during the meeting, then either the parents or somebody else that they feel comfortable with. Yeah.
Now, returning to the direction in Shepherd the Flock that we were looking at earlier, which says that observers should not be present for moral support. Can you conceive of what the justification can be for that direction?
For moral support?
Yeah, that an observer should not be present for moral support?
No, I can't. And that's why I thought in other chapters of the book, but I just can't recall them. I thought that one was in chapter 12 that I just quoted, but it's not 18 and 19. But I find that, well, I don't find, but with the letters that we have in the publications, we certainly do try to make the person feel at ease so they feel free to be able to express themselves.
Because so long as that rule is...
The problem, Mr. Jackson, is really not addressed in that way, though, is it? The problem is the whole structure of the arrangement with two male elders, a male accused, and then a female in an environment in which she could never feel comfortable being asked to tell intimate details of a sexual nature. The structure doesn't work, does it?
Well, I agree, Your Honour, I certainly do.
What can the Church then do about changing the structure?
Well, maybe after hearings like this, where it's been brought to the fore, I just feel that over a period of time, only through matters of letters and that I've read, that it does indicate that other persons for support are able to help them through.
But even support's not going to help, given the structure of the whole arrangement.
Yeah. Well, maybe, as I said, after meetings like this, hearings like this, sorry, there could be a structure change. I'm not in that position to say, but it could be.
Well, how would structure change occur?
Well, I guess just what you're saying, with the individual.
How would it be initiated inside the church? How does the church make the changes that are necessary?
Oh, well, it would go through the governing body, or suggestions would be to the governing body, and then.
Which is in America, is it?
Yeah, but in turn it could go through the branch here with suggestions.
And do people like you take forward suggestions to the branch here?
Well, I haven't.
Do they? I mean, is that
Yes,
I
they
want to know
do.
how the system works.
Yeah, sure, they do.
What's the process?
Yeah, no, they do. They make recommendations, and these recommendations go to the branch of the governing body, and then situations can change in those areas if the governing body decides to do that. But we can make, anyone is free to write and make these recommendations, Your Honour.
Now, Mr. Jackson, in your statement, you say that the complaint that was made when you were there investigating it, the complaint that was made involved BCB discovering Bill Neal looking at her as she was taking a shower, which Neal admitted to, you recall that, and BCB complained that Neal had touched her breasts from the outside of the night clothing when kissing her goodnight, but he said that if that had occurred, it was inadvertent. Do you remember that?
I just remember the Bill Neal looking at her in the shower and the comment made on the touching of the breasts.
You don't remember the complaint about repeated tongue kissing over a period of time?
No.
You don't remember that?
No. And to me, I don't know if it was even raised.
Let me look at tab 70. You can just scroll down so, Mr. Jackson, you can see this. You recognise that this is your report to the branch following your investigation with Mr. Hawley.
Oh, yes, yes.
Now, I understand you wrote this letter, is that right?
I did, yes, with comments from Brother Hawley, or Max Hawley.
And if we see at the end, both you and Mr. Hawley signed it.
Yes, correct.
Now, did you write this letter from any notes you had taken during the course of your interviews or investigations?
I would have taken, yes, and some of those notes, but also discussing it with Max Hawley as well, like the contents of the letter.
So you took notes during the interviews? As to what
I think we both did. Yeah, as far as I can remember, I think we both took some notes.
As to what the complaints were?
Yeah.
And presumably what the responses were?
Correct.
Yeah. And where are those notes now?
Well, I don't have them. I don't know whether they were kept in the congregation file or...
Well, you were the circuit overseer at that time. Would your notes have ordinarily gone into the congregation file?
Normally, if I was serving that congregation, would have gone there. The only letter would have been this to the branch. But I really can't remember. I know I never took notes, not only from this situation, but anything else that I dealt with that went to the congregation. Sometimes there may be matters that I passed on if another circuit overseer followed me or took over the circuit that I was doing. But I cannot remember with regards to that, and I would say that possibly it was just left with the congregation.
You see, the Royal Commission subpoenaed and received documents from the congregation files, but there are no notes there.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
I cannot, no.
Is it really, are you saying, Mr. Jackson, that your ordinary practice was that the overseer's notes would go into the congregation file?
Yes, and information as this letter would go to the branch. I don't think anything went to the branch other than that letter.
Now, you see in this letter on the first page, where you report to the branch, you say we're writing in reply to another letter, and you say I investigated the matter further with the other elder, and then you set out some aspects of the investigation in the first paragraph. And then in the second paragraph you say we also spoke to other brothers and sisters in the congregation in Europe.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.